All right, we got one viewer in here, and I'm guessing this is going to be a little light today. It's super early in the morning, so didn't really think this through, but we'll adjust this as we go through. Trying to catch many different time zones. So it's 8:30. We are live. And let me kind of just run this down for you. I am welcome, and I am Nate Anglin, the CEO of Skylink. You may have seen me in other places, but I am here with you right now. And today we're going to be talking about the top weekly news that we found, our team has found, that will impact your maintenance and material life. And some things are newsworthy topics, some things are articles we found, but we want to get in the weeds with you in real time, and that's why we're doing this live. You can catch all of the show notes if you go to skylink.com/Skylink brief, and you put in the date 10/27/17. You'll get all of these links. You'll get this video. You'll get some additional resources to make comments and add your input. And so head on over there. And if you haven't, make sure you follow us on YouTube. So the next time we go live you are alerted, and you can engage with me in real time, ask questions. And if I'm not the expert in a given topic, maybe you can even add some of your insight. I would love to hear from you. So make sure you follow us on YouTube. And then don't forget to go to neverforgetyourwings.com, where we bring you the top tips, tricks, and trends that will continue to impact your material and maintenance life. So head on over there. So with that out of the way, I want to jump right into our first article. And this one is actually very interesting to me. I deal a lot with parts, and it comes to you from Sean Broderick, MRO Network editor, writer. And he brings up the used parts market is growing, yet standalone traders face pressure. So what does that mean, not only for the traders, but the air operators, MROs, leasers, militaries? What does that mean? And let me share my screen with you, and we'll pull this article up. And this is what it says. This is the used parts market growing, yet standalone traders face pressure. And it clearly states that the market itself is going to be growing at a 5.2% clip through 2026. So we all have plenty of time. But what does that mean? Well, that means the parts, we're going to keep selling parts. But as you've probably noticed in the news is Boeing is looking to cut out a lot of tier 1 suppliers and to keep some of that in-house. And then you're looking at a ton of consolidations. So yes, the used market is growing, but there's going to be a lot more competition. There's still going to be a lot of parts that are needed. But the individual players, the players that maybe have 5, 6, 7 employees that sell parts every once in a while, they buy a part, they sell a part, they buy a part, they sell a part, they will be feeling the pressure. It's the barriers to entry right now at this present moment, 2017, is incredibly low, but the value has gone even lower. And we'll get to that in the next article that I want to review with you is things people and firms say they do in the industry but don't. That's part of the problem, is there's no value creation outside of single sourcing and selling parts. And this, I've seen it on my end, is this also is true from a procurement standpoint, because a lot of issues are created is because we're just buying that single part purely based on price. And pricing is important, but what's that value play? What's that total material cost play? And I think that is where this article and where Sean was coming from, and really kind of ICF International, you can see here, this came from them. This is what they said. But that's what they're doing. And even right here, airlines, you might even be watching this, as airlines are embracing the cannibalization of their own aircraft to pull some of those parts out. But what is that long-term play? Is that even their business? Is that the business they want to get into? It can be costly. They can save a lot of costs, but there has to be that conversation of not only the value parts providers, the trusted material advisors are creating, but then what do the operators actually need? And outside of operators, I also mean like MROs, militaries, and leasers. It's just not focused on the airlines. Is what does the marketplace demand and need from a material provider? And that's what that was interesting here. You know, we pulled this up, and it really kind of hits home. Let me pull this up as well. Not sure if anybody can see me in this because I pulled the screen up, but so I think that's really important as a market itself, is the standalone traders face pressure. When we say standalone, I'm guessing that article means purely just part sales, so that would not be me, so I wouldn't necessarily know what that means. But as the industry chatters, as you can say, hey, you can see people say, hey, we're slow. We don't have enough aircraft to tear down. So we can see that people just focused on selling inventory are going to be feeling pressure. So it's really, they have to, you know, think deep down is who do they want to be? And we're going to see barriers to entry kind of increase unless people just want a part or two here and there. And then anybody can still do what they're doing, but it's going to be tight. So we'll see how that goes. And that leads us to the next article, is the things people and firms say they do in our industry, but, and this comes from Roy Resto. Maybe you've seen him on some websites. He has a blog over at aviationsuppliers.org that he writes for. He has a really good point. I've thought about this for years. Let me pull up the article and show you what I mean. And it's actually really kind of funny, and it goes in hand to the used parts market, yet standalone traders are facing pressure. These two articles play a role. So even despite we're growing at 5.2%, it's these things that people say that might be impacting the results standalone providers are having. So let's take a look at that. Let me share the article with you. And there's Roy Resto right up there. What an awesome name that is, huh? Roy Resto. I would really like to pull that out. Perfect. So this one is things people say and firms do. This one I just find so comical. The 24/7 AOG service is, everybody in the world claims that they have an AOG service, and they don't. It's you'll call, you know, I mean, he lays it out here, right here is, you know, really, this is an overused claim in the aviation support sector. What it really means at 2 a.m. your time is that you'll take the information while assuming the color that you'll get right on it, but there's that word, really get to it at the first opportunity of regular working hours. So what he means is, you call them at 2 a.m., you leave a voicemail, and oh, I'm actually going to get back to you at 9 a.m. for your 24/7 AOG service. That really defeats the point. That's really just not what it's here for. If you're going to advertise it, actually do it. That's why, for me, for Skylink, because we don't advertise the 24/7 AOG service because it's not realistic. It's kind of that over-promising and under-delivering that we're all too familiar with. So the 24/7 AOG, if you are marketing that, that's exactly what it should be. You call somebody, you call a company at 2:30 in the morning, and boop, they pick up. How may I help you? But that's not happening, and that's going to be part of the problem with standalone traders facing that pressure. Is they're trying to be things that they don't have the resources to be, and they're focused on just selling parts, and that's going to be a problem for them. Another one is your inventory, and I have a couple statements on this. People list their inventory on different sites, but they don't necessarily have it. A lot of people call it ILS, and it's the International Liars Service. It's a little silly. I mean, you develop that reputation. There are people on there that update daily. That's what they do. But then we go back to the standalone traders facing pressure. But people also list on these inventory sites. So let me pull up that section of the article for you. Is they also list on these sites that they don't have. It's just kind of their mass marketing, trying to capture everything. and they're capturing really nothing, or they're burning bridges, which is far worse. And there are sites, trying to compete against the big ones, the listing databases. There's 2 or 3 really big and really good ones, but then there's these other ones that are just, you send them your inventory list, and it's so hard to update. So we can see both. But what I think, and everybody can think something different, is focus on a couple. But I think if we're just relying on the listing databases to purchase, to procure, then we're sorely missing out on building valuable relationships and really being something bigger to our end user, our end customer, whoever that might be. It might not be airlines or operators. There's a number of people who who primarily work with other third parties, and that is fantastic. But who do you want to be? And I think, really dictating that inventory. If you're just listing, this is what I meant by low barriers to entry, is if you just think you can list everywhere and say, I have everything. Well, you don't. You might have the capabilities to get everything, but you don't have necessarily everything. And I think that becomes a very big point. So inventory is big. And we don't have everything. But we help build these total material solutions. And I think that's part of our play, and that's our business model. So really thinking about your inventory business model, or who you are working with from an inventory standpoint. And the last one on this article I find really, really funny, and it's a big one for me, is customer service. So right here he kind of explains that the biggest complaint he hears is how big suppliers treat small customers. But let's be honest. Big customers are there, or big vendors and distributors are there to push product. They're not there to shine your shoes. They might say they are, they might have these great contracts and agreements, but they're not going to give you the level of human touch and service that you want, if that's what you want. If you want something big and glamorous and you're going to pay for it, then that's what you're going to get. But customer service, let's be real, I see it on two different ends. Is customer service is terrible on the standalone part trader's standpoint, and it's also really bad on the larger distribution companies side of things. So just a topic. Customer service, they don't remember your name. There's no follow-up. It's pretty bad. Customer service is pretty bad, and he talks about it here. So I encourage you to go to skylinkintl.com. /Skylink brief 102717, and you can read this one. This one is a really good one, and I think it's worth kind of really looking at each section. So let's head on over to the next one. Is parts prices still stable? Could remain so for a while. And this is coming from Henry, again on MRO Network, and it looks like I picked quite a few from them. But he had mentioned the prices are staying stable, but I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. Richard Brown, which obviously he knows what he's talking about, so who am I to debate him? But estimates that the aerospace demand for steel will increase only at 0.5% annually, and that the annual price will increase in a modest, generally 1 to 2% a year for high performance commodities like titanium, super alloys, and composites. So does that mean that the entire, with what this article is saying with the subject line is, are part prices staying stable? And could they remain that way for a while? I don't know. I think if we're talking about new parts, then I think the inflationary yearly inflation increase is standard and fixed and makes sense. But if we go back to the used market, it all depends on supply and demand. As I just posted something on LinkedIn that says, was in relation to this article that said, okay, I've seen just on the 737 new gen is with certain products, prices doubled since last year. We have, the lights that we used to be getting $2,500 for them, and now they've gone up to $3,750. So the pricing has really increased, and that was just an example. So don't hit me hard on the comments if I'm way out of whack. But I mean, the CSDs, I mean, we saw the CSDs at 30, they dropped down to 8, now they're at 15. And the brakes, don't even get me on the brakes. As you go back to, people do still operate 727s, scary enough, is the brakes used to be going at a $9,000 a brake on pricing point. Now they're at 15. So it all depends on supply and demand. And this article is generally what I think from it. It doesn't necessarily say, well, I guess it does say, increases material demand traced largely to lower OEM production. So we're talking about factory new parts. But after they go beyond factory new, is you might see this influx of higher prices, lower prices, and it's great that, you know, for the foreseeable future, I think it even puts a date in here, yeah, through 2021, that these manufacturing increases are looking stable from a pure commodity and steel standpoint, which is great. Great for operators, great for MROs, great for expendables. It's nice to know that rivets aren't going to quadruple in the next 4 years. It's important. Every penny adds up. So this was an interesting article. I found fascinating. So I'm not even sure if I shared the screen with you, but this is what it was. This is the article that we were just discussing. But again, this will be in the show notes and the rundown, so make sure you head on over. And the last thing I have for you today is I came out with a forecast through 2036 that air passengers will nearly double to 7.8 billion. God, billion, that's crazy. I was, to go a little off topic, as I was reading this book about history, and they were talking about, it's freaking nuts, how long, or, you know, space has been around, and they're talking about billions of years. I mean, billions just blows my mind. And once you start getting into billions of dollars, and for certain companies, I mean, I can name a number of here in this industry, it's nuts. So the passengers will nearly double to 7.8 billion, which means aviation will still be here. And I don't think it's going anywhere. But I think that's good for all of us to know that that there's going to be more passengers. But I think we really need to focus on where this growth is happening, because I think you're going to see a trend and a change in that. And obviously there's people way smarter than me on this topic. But the prediction is based on a 3.6 average compound annual growth rate through the 20-year air passenger forecast. So what does this mean in your business? Whether you're an operator, a standalone parts provider, an MRO, it's really something for you to think about. As passengers nearly double, that means there's going to be more pressure on more aircraft, more pressure on maintenance and MRO activities. So you know, how are you going to play the value game within that infrastructure? And if you are with an MRO and an operator and within the organization, is what are you going to do to create value within that organization? And how are we all going to really be involved in what matters most? And that's getting passengers to the end destination safely, soundly, getting them to point A to point B. And that is that. So those are the 4 articles. I hope you, if you're watching this a little bit later, I hope you find it incredibly valuable just to see this live. If not, shoot me an email at nate@skylinkintl.com and let me know how we can make this best for you and what you would expect out of something like this from a weekly brief of the news and the top articles, because we do want to continue to bring you the top trends that will impact your aircraft maintenance and material life. And that's why I encourage you to go back to neverforgetyourwings.com, and we do a lot more there as well outside of this weekly news brief that we're taking on. And if you're feeling really daring, if you want, you know, some breathing room outside of aviation and the material, is head on over to nateengland.com, you know, where I really am focused on helping you upgrade your mind, body, and career so you can be great in business and in life. And I think that's really important in playing these two together. will give you a frame to just be awesome and work in one of the best industries possible. So until next week, I will see you and talk to you then. I hope to see you. If this time doesn't work or you would like different articles, please comment, please email me, and I will see you next week. We'll see you. Cheers.